sometimes happen. Yeah. Okay, and when you were with the Wrens, obviously you were a teenager. Did you have a social life with them? Sometimes go out with them to things?
Yes, sometimes, but not all that. I wasn't all that keen. But very often some of the chaps in the army who were living in places like Butlins, they used to take over Butlins.
Oh.
And they'd run a dance, and they'd send for Wrens to go, and they'd send them a bus to take them there, you know. That was quite good fun. I never took up with anybody permanently.
Now you see, I thought the Butlins were started after the war. I didn't know that.
A long time before.
It shows you my ignorance, doesn't it? When you went to Hayling Island once. Can you remember that particular dance?
No.
Was there a band?
Well, it was all right. Of course it was a band, but it was in one of the Butlins place where they used to have the dances, you know.
Yeah, I see.
And then when it was finished, the buses came along and took us home.
Yeah, just had a night out. Yeah.
But not very often.
No, and you did all the...
But I used to go out dancing to the dance halls out in Southsea.
Oh.
But that was just private. You paid to go in.
Yeah.
You know.
What, you'd go out with a couple of other girls or whatever?
Yeah.
And did you take your rum ration with you?
Never rum ration, I'm afraid.
You, I believe, got demobilised before you got married.
Yeah. When I met Dad, of course, in 1944, I knew in 42 probably, and I was always very interested in the Scouts and Guides, and St Mark's Sea Scouts, or Sea Rovers they were, and they used to run dances, say about once a month or something, which my friend and I used to go to. And that's where I first met Dad. He was in the Rover Scouts there.
Right, yeah. I'll come back to that in a minute. I think we might have overlooked one other bit, perhaps we should mention, whilst we're talking about the wartime period, and that was that in the blackout you had quite a serious accident in about 1943.
Yeah, but I don't think it was a blackout. I don't think it was dark.
Oh.
But in 1943, I had an accident on my bike. I was riding my bike, and a chap came along at a terrific pace on another bike and knocked me down and hurt my head because we didn't wear helmets and
No, nobody did.
No. Anyway, they took me to the local hospital, and then because I was in the Wrens, they transferred me to Basingstoke,
right,
which was a military hospital. It was a Canadian hospital. The Canadians had taken it over. And they did very well with me. They got me okay. And
but it took quite a while.
It was about 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, I enjoyed it. My friend used to come and see me, and my mother stayed there in Diggs for a week or two, and eventually got sent back to Portsmouth.
And back into your job and everything.
Yeah, I had to go back to the Portsmouth hospital and say I was okay now.
Oh, I see. Yeah, to check. Yeah, I see. Okay, so talking about bikes.
I was 19 then, so that must have been 43, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That ties up, doesn't it? So there's on the biking theme. I think when you said you first met Dad, otherwise known as Peter William Jones, he had something to do with a bike.
Yeah, he used to ride a bike everywhere. And the first time I ever saw him was at one of the Scouts dances. And he came in the back way, pushing his bike with his trousers clipped up, and I was, even that was the first time I ever seen it, and I was quite impressed. And I asked my friend, "Who's that?" And he said, "That's Peter Jones." And I thought, oh, Joan.
Yeah, as a common name.
Yeah.
Common as muck.
Yeah, I didn't know I've been saddled with it for all these years.
Wow, yeah. And you used to sort of, a gang of girls and boys used to go out together, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Mm.
I didn't go out with Dad for quite a long time. Separately, I mean.
No. And then eventually people started to pair off, I guess. And we all courting. Sounded a bit like brief encounter. You were meeting on a railway station or something.
It wasn't a brief encounter.
No.
Yeah, there was a Cuthbert station, because his office had been evacuated to Otterbourne. And he had to go there on the train. That was a village near Winchester.
Right.
And, well, not every day, but I used to go and meet him off the train, and then we used to cycle either go to his house or to a pub or something, I don't know. We didn't go on pubs very much.
No, we just went somewhere to a cafe and had a cup of coffee or something. I see. And your father, in the Second World War, he was working in the dockyard. He'd retired from the Royal Navy, hadn't he?
Yeah.
And what kind of a job did he have there?
He was a fitter, ship fitter.
Right. What do you think that involved then?
Sort of specialised jobs for doing all sorts of things. I don't know exactly what, but
You said he'd actually got that in the late 20s, which was just as well when there was the Depression on and things.
Late 20s, it was in the 30s or 40s, after he left the Navy. He joined the Navy in 1914, when he finished his apprenticeship in the dockyard.
Right.
And he joined up for permanent, so he was in it for 22 years. And when he finished that, it must have been about 36. It must have been 1936 when he came out of the Navy. He had a naval pension. But they offered him a job in the workshop where he worked before he joined the Navy, which he was quite a clever chap and he could have done better than that, but because there was a depression on, he took the job because it was permanent income. He only got £2 or £3 a week, that's what they used to get in those days.
And then he carried on until he retired in about the early or mid-50s.
He got to be a chargeman, which was the next step up, you know.
And he retired in the mid or early 50s.
Yeah, they used to ask him to do things like, when these, I think they called them butterfly bombs. They were incendiary bombs that the Germans used to drop. And they asked him to make one so that they could photograph it and put posters around
I see, make a mock-up or something.
To show you what they were like.
I see.
That's the sort of thing he used to do. He used to do things for the Royal Yacht. Not that they used the Royal Yacht during the war, but he was a very clever chap. And sometimes he was an instructor in the Navy.
Yeah.
And he was one of the first electrical men. Because electricity was a new thing when he joined.
Yeah, so when he did eventually retire, he had 2 occupational pensions, as well as, of course, the old age pension.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so he was comfortably off, especially as he never had a car to have to pay for. And your mother didn't really work after she got married, but she had been a piano teacher or music teacher?
Piano teacher, but she did it for a bit until I was a baby.
Oh, right, yes. And did she have any other way of making an income?
No.
No. What about have lodgers or anything like that?
Yeah, she did have lodgers.
but otherwise that was, you know, she then became
They
a
used
full
to have
time.
a couple of rooms,
Yeah.
a bedroom and a room downstairs, because the house they had was a Victorian terrace house, but it's quite a big one, you know.
Yeah.
And,
Well, go on.
yeah.
Oh, right. Well, thank you very much for talking to me, Mum, for about half an hour. I'll give you a break now before I might ask you to talk about the rest of your life. Thank you very much indeed.
All right,
And also that whiskey Matt you're drinking is
it's going down,
You said